What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now, don't forget to like this video, as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video clicking that button down below. And if we get 600 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 21 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now, a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We actually got 0 picks wrong and got 21 right, which is a 100% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 100% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 100% win rate and get 21 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be a link down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $625 just yesterday. Another member who won $455 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, a link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Ken CT2RK who said first. Shouts out to Just Rich Gates TV who said let's win, and shouts out to Steadizuit who said happy MLK Day. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight to the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're talking about is DeAndre Ayton, and this one is for 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and this one is for more. Now, looking at DeAndre Ayton, we have seen him go on the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we see on January 10th, faced off against Milwaukee Bucks, had 9 points, rebounds, and assists there. January 13th, faced off against Sacramento Kings, had a 27 PRA, or 27 points, rebounds, and assists. On January 14th, faced off against Atlanta, had 36 points, rebounds, and assists in that matchup. 19 points, rebounds, and assists against Charlotte Hornets on January 16th. And then January 19th, faced off against the Toronto Raptors and had a 39 PRA there. So as I mentioned before, they have gone, or he has gone on the over quite consistently. And when it comes to Ayton, we do see that over the last 5 games, his average is actually 26. So significantly on the over here. Now, when we look at Ayton and the Los Angeles Lakers, we do know that they have themselves a very good matchup against the Denver Nuggets. Now, looking at where both these teams do actually lie, starting off with Los Angeles Lakers and where they are so far, they currently rank 6th in the Western Conference. They have fallen a bit when it actually comes to their ranking. They were in a much better position earlier on, but they have fallen down quite a little bit. Now, they do have a record that puts them at 25 wins and 16 losses. That's a 61% win percentage there. They're also 12-8 from home, 13-8 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting to see. Obviously, Lakers are trying their best to get back into that top 5 if they can, but they face off against a Denver team that have done very well, because Denver come in at the 3rd spot in the Western Conference. Now, they have a record of 29 wins and 14 losses. That's a 67.4% win percentage there, and on top of that, they are 12-7 from home, 17-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see. You know, looking at both of these teams, there was at one point Lakers were ranked higher than Denver, but it has definitely switched around as of lately. Now, looking at Denver Nuggets, we do actually see that Denver Nuggets, when it comes to points allowed, although they are a great team, we do also see that they rank 20th when it comes to points allowed, actually allowing. We do see 117 points per game. So they do allow a lot of points there. When we look at assists allowed, we see that the Denver Nuggets also rank in a somewhat similar position as a rank 17th, allowing 27.1 assists per game. And then rebounds rebounds allowed, Denver Nuggets rank a little bit better as they rank 9th, allowing 43 rebounds per game. So definitely looking at that, obviously looking at the matchup, we do know that Denver do a pretty poor job at points, pretty poor job in assists, a little bit better in rebounds. But coming into this, we aren't expecting, Denver, since they do a great job at rebounds, we don't see that being enough. And we definitely see someone like DeAndre Ayton going on the over here. When it comes to Ayton, his usage rate across, points, rebounds, and assists is pretty, I would say even somewhat. But because of Denver ranking poorly in 2, we definitely see those 2 being the main, sort of carriers when it comes to this line. And that's why we do very much like these combo lines at times. We definitely see it working out in the favor of someone like Ayton coming into this game, especially with the matchup that he does face off against. Now, when we also look at the matchup between Denver and LA Lakers, a lot of people are, or are assuming that Lakers and Denver, it is going to be a slower paced game. But as we've actually seen, Denver and Lakers, although having Jokic, having Luka, and being known for being slower type players, we are expecting a good amount of pace from this game. So since there is going to be a good amount of pace, we are definitely expecting the over for it. Now, when we look at someone or looking at the injuries so far, we are expecting a couple of injuries. So, when it comes to someone like Austin Reeves for Lakers, he is expected to be out for this game. On top of that, when it comes to Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic is still out, so that's definitely going to have a huge effect. So although they usually do a great job against the center position, with Nikola Jokic out, we definitely see that being a problem. Now, Aaron Gordon is also expected to be out, and same with Jamal Murray. Now, everything can definitely still change, but as of right now, they are still expected to be out. I think, Jokic not being able to play is definitely going to have the biggest effect there, however. Now, when we look at the points, rebounds, and assist line for the pros and what they do have to say, we do actually see that they have him for a line for 23. So it is a little bit of a different line there. So it is kind of difficult to go off, what the bookies are saying. But what we do see is that the projection that they do have is for 25.7. So that is very much on the higher side, and that actually does, or we do actually agree with that as expected for the over. So we are agreeing with the projection there. Now we look at the last 15. We have seen him go on the over in 53% of those games roughly as well. So it definitely does work out in our favor there. Now, obviously the last 15, it really just does depend on the matchup they face off against. With the matchup against Denver, especially with the injuries that they do have, and also on Lakers side, we should see DeAndre Ayton go on the over here. So for that reason, DeAndre Ayton, 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Dante DiVincenzo. And this one's a great one for rebounds and assists. So this one's another combo one for 10.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Dante DiVincenzo, we are actually, expecting him for the under, but he has gone on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on January 11th, faced off against Cleveland Cavaliers, had 9 rebounds and assists in that matchup, had 16 rebounds and assists against San Antonio Spurs on January 12th. January 14th, faced off against Milwaukee Bucks, had 11 rebounds and assists in that matchup. Then January 17th, faced off against Houston Rockets, had 12 rebounds and assists. Then 8 rebounds and assists against San Antonio Spurs on January 18th. So it is pretty interesting to see. Obviously, looking at someone like Dante DiVincenzo, we have seen him, kind of struggle at times, but other times has done pretty well. Now, his average over the last 5 is also 11.2. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know that the Minnesota Timberwolves face off against the Utah Jazz coming into this game. Now, it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams, but looking at where both these teams do actually lie, we do actually see, starting off with the Minnesota Timberwolves, Minnesota come in at the 4th spot when it comes to the Western Conference. They've been able to really pull together some wins and find themselves at that 4th spot with 27 wins and 16 losses. That's a 62.8% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 15-6 from home, 12-10 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see from them there. Now, looking at Minnesota, they face it off against a Utah Jazz team that rank 13th and also have a record of 14 wins and 28 losses. So that's a 33.3% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 9-12 from home, 5-16 from away, and are currently on a 3-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see from them there. Obviously, looking at, the matchup between both of these teams, they are on different sides of the Western Conference, with Timberwolves doing much, much better. But looking at this matchup, we do see, when it comes to rebounds and assists, starting off with actually Utah Jazz and where they do rank defensively, we see that they rank 30th, actually allowing 30.7 assists per game. So they do allow a lot of assists. They actually rank last in that sense. And they also rank 20th when it comes to rebounds allowed, as they do allow 44.9 rebounds per game. So we definitely have seen Dante DiVincenzo, struggle at times. But the reason why we still do like the under for this situation, even though he's gone on the over quite consistently lately, we do actually see that Utah Jazz do a fantastic job at restricting, rebounds and assists to Dante's position. So we definitely see someone like him going on the under in this case. When it comes to Utah, they do like to restrict, guards as best as they can. And whether that's Dante or even other players like Anthony Edwards, we definitely see, all these kind of shooting guards and also point guards at times that Dante does end up playing. We definitely see all of them being on the under due to the fact that a lot of the defensive focus is definitely going to be on them. Now we look at some of the injuries that are, occurrent right now. We do know Naz Reid is expected to be out. However, he is also kind of game time decision, so he may end up playing. And then Terrence Shannon Jr. is definitely out for this game. And similar to Utah do have some players that could potentially come back, such as Georges Niang, Lauri Markkanen, Bryce Sensabaugh. So they do have a couple of players there. And if they do end up playing, I do believe the defense from this Jazz team is going to improve drastically. But coming into this matchup, we do also know, looking at what the pros do have to say, when it comes to rebounds allowed, we do rebounds and assists, we do actually see that they have him for 9.5. So we have him for 10.5. So it is a little bit of a different line there. And looking at that, it is kind of difficult to go off what the bookies are saying. But what we do see is the projection they do have is 8.3 rebounds and assists. Now, the reason why this is important is because when we look at our line, we actually do see that 8.3 is still projected for the under for us. So we are definitely agreeing with the projection there. And then when we also look at Dante DiVincenzo when it comes to the last 15 games, we do see a little bit of a different story, as he has gone on the under in 60% of those matchups. So for that reason, coming into this next one, we do very, very much like the under for someone like Dante DiVincenzo here. So DiVincenzo for actually 10.5 rebounds and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Isaac Okoro. So Isaac Okoro, great player. This one is for points and rebounds for actually 10.5, and this one actually is for less. So looking at Isaac Okoro, we have seen him go on the under in 1 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on January 11th faced off against the Dallas Mavericks and actually had 17 points and rebounds there. January 14th faced off against Houston, had 13 points and rebounds in that matchup. January 15th faced off against Utah Jazz, had 14 points and rebounds. Then January 17th faced off against the Brooklyn Nets, had 8 points and rebounds. Then January 19th faced off against the Brooklyn Nets again off a back-to-back, and in that matchup actually had 15 points and rebounds there. Now this is really interesting because he has gone on the over quite consistently, but we do like the under for it. And we do also see that his average over the last 5 is 13.4. But let's get to the reason why we do like the under. And starting off with Chicago and their matchup, they face off against none other than the LA Clippers. Now looking at both these teams and where they do rank, starting off with the Bulls come in at the 9th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 20 wins and 22 losses. That's a 47.6% win percentage there. They're also 13-9 from home, 7-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now looking at the LA Clippers, we do know that the LA Clippers find themselves in a pretty interesting position, as a lot of people did have high hopes for them, but they currently rank 11th in the Western Conference. Now they have a record of 18 wins and 23 losses. That's a 43.9% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 11-9 from home, 7-14 from away, and are currently on a 5-game win streak. So very interesting to see from them there. Now looking at this matchup, we do also know, looking at where LA Clippers rank defensively, starting off with points allowed, we see that the LA Clippers rank 8th, actually allowing 113.2 points per game. Then when we look at rebounds allowed, LA Clippers rank actually 7th as well, as they also allow 42.4 rebounds per game. So just looking at that, a lot of people may be surprised because not many people thought LA Clippers were this great of an actual, defensive team, but they've actually done a fantastic job. And for that reason, when it comes to this next matchup, we are definitely expecting the under, as LA Clippers tend to really play very tight defense due to the, great defensive players that they do have. Now, when it actually comes to obviously Isaac and also the Chicago facing off against the Clippers, we do know that Isaac has gone on the over quite consistently over the last 5 due to the fact that when it comes to, his matchups, it has been against much easier teams. So he has faced off against easier teams, and for that reason, we are definitely, expecting those teams that he did play and did go on the over on. I see those as him, kind of overinflating this line, and now that the lines have adjusted, we see a lot more value actually to go on the under. So for that reason, I do very much like the actual under for this situation here for someone like Okoro coming into this game. Now, when it comes to Chicago and the LA Clippers and looking at this matchup, we do also see when it comes to the pros and when it comes to points and rebounds, they have him for a different line. So they actually have him for 9.5. So it is a little bit of a different line there, while we actually have him for 10.5 as we mentioned. So very different in that sense. But what we also do see is when it comes to the projection, they have him projected for 10.6. So actually have him projected slightly for the over for this one, and we have him for the under, so we are going a little bit against the projection here as well. And then looking at the last 15 games, we also do see that Isaac Okoro has definitely been very fluctuating, and I would call him very much a big player for sure, but he's definitely only needed in certain times, and that's the way that he has been playing for this team, and we definitely see that continuing on into this next game, as he has struggled to really, go on the over on this line. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for Isaac Okoro coming into this one. Isaac Okoro for actually 10.5 points and rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Ochai Agbaji, and this one is a great one for actually points for 6.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, we look at Agbaji, we actually have seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on January 12th, faced off against Philadelphia 76ers, had 6 points there. January 13th, faced off against Philly again off a back-to-back, had 0 points in that matchup. January 15th, faced off against Indiana Pacers, had 10 points in there. Then 15 points against LA Clippers on January 17th. Then January 19th, faced off against the LA Lakers and had 0 points there. So looking at that, we have definitely seen Agbaji go on the under quite consistently, and his average over the last 5 is also 6.2, which is, below his line. Now, looking at Toronto Raptors and Agbaji, we do know that they have themselves a very good matchup against the Golden State Warriors. Now, these two teams are in different conferences, but looking at where both these teams do rank, starting off with Toronto Raptors, Raptors actually come in at the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, they actually have a record of 25 wins and 19 losses. That's a 56.8% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 13-10 from home, 12-9 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So very interesting to see from them there. Now, looking at this matchup, we do know that Golden State Warriors are in the Western Conference, and they've unfortunately struggled quite a little bit because they currently rank 8th in the Western Conference. They are on a 3-game win streak, and they do have 24 wins and 19 losses. That's a 55.8% win percentage there. And they're also 16-6 from home, 8-13 from away, and as I've mentioned, 3-game win streak. But they are in a little bit of a similar situation in a sense that it is going to be a very tough few weeks because Jimmy Butler has gone down with an injury. Now, I don't know since making this video what the actual update update is on that injury, but it does look pretty serious and may actually miss out on this game. It hasn't been confirmed just yet, but it did look pretty bad for sure. Now, looking at Golden State Warriors and where they do rank points wise, although they have definitely struggled in the sense that they aren't in the same sort of category of the top 5 as they used to be, they still do rank 9th when it comes to points allowed. So they've actually done a fantastic job there. We actually do see that when it comes to Agbaji, that he's not only just done a fantastic job for this Toronto team, but what we tend to see him actually do is do a lot more of the other things like rebounding and also playmaking. Agbaji isn't really much of a scorer, and the fact that that is the case, and on top of that, Warriors being a great defensive team, ranking 9th, allowing only allowing 113.3 points per game, we definitely are confident on the under in this case. Agbaji's game has always been, and his role for this team has never really been scoring, and yes, he has had some pretty interesting games. He had a matchup where he did have 10 points, another one had 15. I see those being very high outlier type matchups, that it's definitely brought this line a little bit too high, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the under. Now, when we look at Agbaji and what the bookies do have to say, so obviously they have him for 6.5 points as well. So it is the same line. And this is actually great for us because we do actually see that when we look at what the bookies are saying, the bookies also have him favored for the under as well. So that works out in our favor there. We are actually agreeing with the bookies, which I think is great. And on top of that, when we also look at the projection, we are agreeing with that too, because they actually have him projected for 4.1 points, which is significantly on the under in this case. When we look at the last 15 games, we also have seen Agbaji really struggle, as he's gone on the under in 60% of these matchups. So he's only gone on the over 40% of these games. And, when you look at it, some of the games he does go on the under, he's actually gone significantly under, in a sense that he hasn't scored any points at all. So Agbaji's usage rate in the points department is very unpredictable, I do have to say. It isn't as consistent as many people think, and although Agbaji is a great player and has a great role for this team, it definitely just isn't really scoring. So coming into this matchup, we are expecting other players in this Raptors roster to do a lot more of the scoring and heavy lifting there. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under for this one. So Ochai Agbaji, 6.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Jake LaRavia. Now, as you all know, Jake, a great player, and this one is for 1.5 3-pointers made, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Jake, we have seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on January 13th, faced off against Sacramento Kings, had 0 3-pointers made there. January 14th, faced off against the Atlanta Hawks, had 3 3-pointers made in that matchup. After that, we also saw 3 3-pointers made against Charlotte Hornets on January 16th. And then January 18th, faced off against Portland Trail Blazers, and also had 0 3-pointers and 0 3-pointers against Toronto on January 19th. So pretty interesting to see. Obviously, looking at that, we do also see that, LA Lakers have themselves a really interesting matchup against the Denver Nuggets. What we also do see is that his average over the last 5 when it comes to 3-pointers is actually 1.2. So, it is under this line. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know, as I mentioned, Lakers face off against Denver. And although we have touched on this matchup before, just to show you where both of these teams do lie, starting off with the Lakers come in at the 6th spot in the Western Conference. They have a record of 25 wins and 16 losses. That's a 61% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 12-8 from home, 13-8 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting to see from them there, and they face off against a Denver Nuggets team who do actually rank 3rd in the Western Conference and have a record of 29 wins and also 14 losses. So that's a 67.4% win percentage there. They're also 12-7 from home, 17-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see. Now, looking at someone like, Jake coming into this game, they face off against a Denver Nuggets team that do rank, starting off with 3-point percentages allowed. Denver do rank 10th, only allowing a 3-point percentage of 35.2. On top of that, when we look at 3-point attempts allowed, we see that the Denver Nuggets do rank a little bit lower, as they actually rank 20th. Now, this is pretty interesting because they allow 37.4 3-point attempts per game, but then 3-point makes allowed, we see that Denver Nuggets rank 14th, actually only allowing 13.2 3-pointer made. So we do actually see that Denver Nuggets do a great job, defending the 3-point makes. They do allow a lot of volume, but when it comes to, those converting into 3 points, they're not really, causing any problems because they do a great job at restricting that. So they do rank 14th, which I think is pretty solid. But what we do see, and what does have us like the under for someone like Jake coming into this game, the first being that Denver actually do a fantastic job at restricting threes to the forward position, and we definitely see someone like Jake struggling there. On top of that, when it comes to LaRavia, we do know that his usage rate in the 3-point department tends to be a little bit unpredictable. And this is not due to his play style or anything like that, but when it comes to also just the way this Lakers team plays, Jake doesn't really have a lot of 3-point opportunities. And although he does take a couple here and there, it really does depend on the matchup. And that's why coming into this next one, we do very much like the under for someone like Jake, especially with a great defensive 3-point matchup like Denver Nuggets. Now, when we look at what the pros do have to say, now they have him for 1.5 as well. And this definitely works out in our favor here because we actually do see that the bookies have him favored for the under as well. So that works out in our favor there. They have him for minus 134. And on top of that, we also see that the projection that they do have for him is also only 1.3. So that is also on the under in this case. So coming into this one, we have a lot of confidence for the under for someone like Jake coming into this matchup. We see a lot of value there, especially due to the fact that, when it comes to this Lakers team, there are so many high volume scorers. Although Austin Reeves is potentially out for this game, we are still expecting, the under due to the fact that Luka, LeBron, all these other guys definitely take a little bit more usage rate away from Jake. So for that reason, when we look at the last 15, also similar sort of situation. He's gone on the under and actually 54-ish roughly percent, when it comes to those last 15 games. So yes, he has had some big games, and those are definitely due to those matchups where, a lot of the stars are resting, but we are expecting almost a full healthy team. And because of that, we are liking the under for it. So Jake LaRavia for 1.5 3-pointers made for less, I think is a fantastic pick.